spent 3 weeks in Bogota. Was robbed. It's better than being kidnapped. That's a bad way to learn Spanish. But here, it started off too. This is actually a page from that book of Retablos, and the Retablo prayer is actually hand printed here. And basically what it is that it's a person who was chided and suffered a great deal, and she wanted to be a physical woman. In this case, I'm not using a post-op, I'm using a real woman, a model. But she was incredible. She was just incredible. What happened is that I was photographing in Bogota in the studio, and the floor was just jumping around. It's a very old building, early 18th century building. And I got trees. We put the trees up. I borrowed this skull. I had the wig, had to rent the bed and the furnitures. I brought this ET with me. I got this in Albuquerque years ago. I knew how to make that work for me. That is represented here. Originally, I had a rhino head made there, but we actually, because of computer working, I work with my collaborator, who's a compositor, and he actually took a real rhino head and put it there. And it's so perfect. I mean, this is not Photoshop. This is like the difference between Photoshop and some of the things in Hollywood. It's just brilliant the way he can do this. And so I sit there and I said, well, I like the scale, blah, 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 blah. And we angle this candle, and basically we gathered, he put roots in the trees. And this for me, starting actually with Night in a Small Town, as far as that collaboration, is very important because it extends what I want to do in the photograph, but I can't do. And now I can. And the fact is that she had these lights around her, but the lights didn't work when I was in Bogota. So we made them work afterwards. I went ahead and photographed. And I said to myself, yeah, sure, we'll put lights in. And I can tell this guy, I want this kind of light. I show him the reproduction. He finds it for me. And it's a wonderful thing. But the print itself, for me, represents the kind of integration between sensuality and sanctity that all of us, regardless of what we believe in, I think perceive. And it's called the scale because this scratching is a reversal of a Philip Guston drawing called the scale. And when I get the scan negative, which is an 8 by 10 negative, and I have an 8 by 10 larger, for this purpose, I only have one. I have to wait 2 weeks for that negative to come. Incredibly expensive. And I said to myself, I'm going to put this drawing on this negative. So I turned the negative around on my light box, and I actually took any number of different tools, scalpel, screwdriver, a needle, and part of a razor blade I had broken off. And I made this drawing, and it was perfect. It's like a kind of a primal graphic entity. And everything worked. I mean, this could have gone in the face, it didn't. You know, it was perfect. Everything was perfect. It's like kind of a given thing that happens. And I'm very, very proud of this. This is a great one. I can only make one of these a day. That's how tough it is to make. This is History of the White World, Arabia, and it's my reaction. I think artists should be social critics, for sure, and I think unavoidably they are, if the work is any good. But this gets into it for me because what I wanted to do is to show the impossibility. You know, I spent a lot of time in the Middle East myself. I've been to Beirut, spent time in Israel, traveled around a great deal. These people don't think the way we think. It's very, very tribal. They have a different kind of parameter as far as how they investigate or think about problems. It's almost biblical. And it ain't going to happen that we can basically go in there as dumb, stupid soldiers knowing the language, not knowing the culture, and trying to bring peace when they should just be left alone. And so this was, this is a kind of a metaphor of this kind of non-dialogue, this impossibility of any kind of discourse between the history of them and our ridiculously short and insipid sense of what we're going to do as far as spreading democracy. And this particular woman was born with this kind of wraparound, twisted hand. The other one's okay, but she's holding this skeleton hand and the flower. And this was very, very complex to do, very, very complex. It started off with this tapestry, which was in our guest house in Albuquerque, and I chose the fabric and had this whole outfit made for her. And the face was retouched in the old-fashioned way. Not with a computer, but with this old kind of disc, you know, and it's a very, very kind of 30s and 40s stylization. And I just loved it. It was the last thing this woman did for me before she moved out of Albuquerque. Not this woman, the model, but the woman, the retoucher. And I thought this was a very, 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 very kind of almost Victorian way of photographing, but it is as contemporary as anything else, except that just the connection between the forms, the period look of the things, I guess what energy she brings to it too. She's very, very gentle and yet very, very strong, yet very, very beautiful photograph of a problem that is still with us. And as I say on the statement that this particular situation, this war, has basically ruined the soul of this country. And I hope we don't elect McCain. I hope to God we don't do that.